Ever felt torn between your vocation of motherhood and the world's demands? Well, join me as we uncover the power of sacrifice and the Good Shepherd's guidance in today's Blessed is She Advent Devotional Reflection. Hey there, Shannon here with Catholic Carolina Mom. If you're new to my page, thank you so much for being here and welcome. I'm a Catholic mom of 5 and I create videos to encourage Catholic moms to know and fully believe that regardless of what you're doing, whether you're decorating your home, raising your kids, or working out, that you can do it fully Catholic and all for God. So welcome back for day 5 of week 3 in the Blessed is She Advent Devotional for Women. Okay, so we'll be reading another story today from Katie. Remember that we heard from her on Tuesday and learned all about the stress of needing to let go of her plans with her second pregnancy and birth in the face of a horrible storm that changed it all. And instead, she learned to hand it all over to our Good Shepherd and trust Him completely, fully believing that He is with us through all of our sufferings and trials in life. And in fact, that He runs to us in these moments to protect us and to carry us. So before we move forward with her new story, I do want to apologize for mispronouncing her middle name very badly. I severely butchered it on Tuesday, and I'm sure you may have noticed that. The correct pronunciation is Katie Prejean McGrady. So I just wanted to clear that up. Now moving on, in today's story, I'm sure that we'll hear more about this week's themes, which are protection and sacrifice. So really try to listen closely to all the messages that Katie is sharing with us today through her experiences. If you haven't already subscribed to my page, please do that now so that you can continue to share in Catholic mom conversations and fellowship even after this Advent series is complete. And if you're liking these videos, please give this one a thumbs up. So I know I remind you every single video, but just in case you are joining us for the first time today, I'll remind you again to please find a really quiet and comfy place away from distractions so that you can fully engage in today's reflection time. And also make sure that you have a journal handy. And if you're wanting to follow along, make sure you have your Blessed is She Advent Devotional Book with you as well. Okay, so today's story is on pages 56 and 57 if you would like to follow along. Story by Katie Prejean McGrady. I was at my 16th event in 3 months, and I'd finally lost my handle on all of it. The sitter had canceled for the day, so my husband was scrambling back home to care for our daughter. I'd forgotten to book a flight for an event the following week and was behind on a book project. And then that evening, my husband called. He asked if I could come home. I explained my flight schedule, to which he then said, "No. Not just from this trip, for good, for a little while, please." I felt sucker punched. I'd said yes to good, worthy, and noble things in ministry that were harming the even more worthy and good life at home. I knew he was right, that I needed to make adjustments to my schedule, and that I had to choose. But still, I was hurt. I hunched over my phone, my face pained and red. I'm the worst wife and mother in the world, I thought. Every choice suddenly looked poor and foolish. Every trip suddenly a condemnation of commitment to my primary vocation. Had every talk, trip, frequent flyer mile, and hotel stay been a mistake over cooking dinner for my family and tucking my daughter in each night? Had I been pulled in by ministry and sucked away from my vocation? Had I spent time in prayer or just kept bulldozing ahead? It's so easy to begin to believe the worst, especially about ourselves. These wolfish lies prowl about our head and heart, and they slowly eat away at our sense of worth, dig away at our dignity. We begin to think so little of ourselves, and then so little of the Lord. It becomes all or nothing, and in this despair, we lose the nuance about discernment and learning from overdoing it. We start to worry that our choices, whatever they may have been, have somehow made us unworthy of a shepherd who wants to guide us to the choices that are best. We abandoned him in so many ways, and so began to think he should and would just abandon us. But the Lord does not let us sit in this lie. He shepherds us forward by showing us our choices, weighing the goods before us, not against each other, but against what He asks. Take what you carry and lay it before the Lord, and let Him show you what to pick up and what to set down. So in Katie's story on Tuesday, we heard about protection, and that, of course, was one of the themes. And today, we hear about the second theme for this week, which is sacrifice. So if we look up the formal definition of the word sacrifice, one definition says that it is to give up something that is valuable to you in order to help another person. And another definition that I really love says that sacrifice is to choose not to do or have something useful or important in order to have something that is more important. Wow, that really paints a clear picture, doesn't it? It doesn't say that it's choosing not to do something that we don't care about or that is not important to us for something that we care about. But in fact, it's choosing not to do something that we really care about and that is important to us, because we are choosing instead to do something that is more important, or to give up this important thing because a person in our life is more important to us than that thing. That is true sacrifice. Because if you're giving up something that doesn't really matter to you, then it's not really a sacrifice at all. Because when we see that someone was willing to give up something they really valued for our benefit, it really shows us how much they value us and love us. So here was Katie. She was choosing all of these great things in her life in ministry. And they were really great things. Traveling around and speaking at events, and most likely spreading the gospel and really good messages about discipleship, and writing all of these great things in books. They were all really, as she writes, good and worthy and noble things. But when her husband called her and asked her to take a pause and to come home instead and to be with her family, she felt really convicted. And she knew in that moment that she had chosen all of these things, these great things, but at the expense of the greater thing in her life. And as the dictionary definitions tell us, she had to choose not to do these useful and important things in order to have something that was more important to her, and that she had to give up something that was valuable to her in order to help her husband and her child. So she was convicted by this, and it all really hit her hard. But then she started hearing the enemy's whispers of lies in her ear as well, saying, "You're the worst wife and mother in the whole world," condemning her for making such poor and foolish choices, and most likely asking her, what kind of mother leaves their child at home and travels around to speak to strangers instead? Who leaves their husband alone to do it all? What a letdown you are. You have failed miserably at your vocation of motherhood. So hearing the enemy's lies, she started to question herself and doubt the good that she had been doing, these good and worthy and noble things in ministry, where she had been touching all of these women's lives and hearts and helping them to grow in their faith and their love for the Lord. But now it looked really cheap and selfish to her. She wondered whether it had all been a mistake, and if she should have been at home cooking dinner for her family and tucking her daughter in at night instead. She says that these wolfish lies prowl about our head and heart, and that they slowly eat away at our sense of worth and dig away at our dignity. We begin to think so little of ourselves and then so little of the Lord. We start to worry that our choices, whatever they may have been, have somehow made us unworthy of a shepherd who wants to guide us to the choices that are best. And we think we abandoned him, so we begin to think he should and would abandon us as well. And isn't that just what the devil wants us to do? Make us believe all of his lies? that we have messed up and failed at our vocation of motherhood, and that we failed in our marriage and our family, and that because of our choosing other things and really abandoning the vocation God has called us to, that Jesus is so disappointed in us that he wants nothing to do with us and we aren't worthy of him. Yes, this is what the devil wants. He wants to beat us down, and he wants to make us feel unworthy and unloved and like a huge failure, that the good shepherd wouldn't want anything to do with us, because the enemy wants us for himself, and he doesn't want us to experience all of the good that Jesus has for us, because he can no longer experience it himself. So we've all been in Katie's shoes at one point in our lives when these lies just pop into our heads and hearts and make us really question choices we've made and our worthiness of the Lord. And most likely, we will hear these lies whispered to us again at some point. But what's so important is to remember, as Katie says in the last paragraph of page 57, where she says, "But the Lord does not let us sit in the lies, because he is a good shepherd. He is there with us. He protects us and carries us, and he wants to guide us." As she continues, he shepherds us forward by showing us our choices, weighing the goods before us, not against each other, but against what he asks. So she tells you to take what you carry and to lay it before the Lord and let him show you what to pick up and what to set down. So really, it's just making sure that everything you're choosing to do in life, and the things and people that you are making top priorities in your life in all of your different seasons, that you're taking these decisions to the Lord in your prayer and allowing him to guide you as to what are the most valuable things to choose in each of these times in your life. That it's his will, not yours. So on pages 58 and 59, there are two sets of questions. And the first set asks, through her husband, Katie heard the Lord inviting her to sacrifice one good for another good. Where is God inviting you to sacrifice in order to make room for something more? How might saying no in one area allow for you to give a truer, freer yes somewhere else? So first off, we see that God used Katie's husband as an instrument to her to really be convicted in a powerful way to awareness that she did need to make adjustments to the choices in her life at that time. And it's so important to spend time in prayer and to really reflect on choices and priorities in our lives, and also to be very aware of people or situations that God may be using to speak to us and to bring us this awareness. The second set of questions asks, are there any negative thoughts that are preventing you from following the Lord's lead or setting aside something that isn't good for you or that you need to save for another time? Rather than engaging in dialogue with our fears or believing lies at face value, bring those thoughts to Jesus in prayer. So that's really diving into this reality of the enemy's lies really getting to us, and especially as moms, and reflecting on if we have actually listened to his lies and believed them in any areas of our life. And do you feel like you aren't worthy of our good shepherd and his care for you because of lies the enemy has told you about yourself? Having a conversation with God about this and really being honest about any times where you've thought the worst about a situation or about yourself, and where you have had a lesser sense of self-worth that has impacted your own dignity, thinking very little of yourself and thinking less of the Lord as well by limiting him and limiting his love. These conversations will bring such healing to your heart and will allow you to really be able to hear his words and accept his guidance relating to what should be most valuable to you in this season of your life. And then it's really important to continue these conversations with the Lord so that they're ongoing, so that you're choosing things and people that align with his will for your life, showing you what to pick up and what to set down as you go. Because the truth is, with everything we choose in life, we'll be making some sacrifices. And some people are in a season of life where they have to travel a lot or be away from home. And if you are having ongoing conversations with the Lord and you've consulted with Him and heard His guidance, letting you know that it is the right choice for your life during this time, then you can feel really good about that and firmly know that the sacrifices you're making are okay. They'll be difficult, but they will be worth it. And when you start to hear those whispers from the enemy, you can quickly shut them down because you know that the Lord has blessed your choices and that you are worthy, and the Good Shepherd will never abandon you. Katie's story involved working outside of the home. And many of you, like myself, are stay-at-home moms, and you do sacrifice a lot to be at home with your children. And you can hear a lot of lies from the enemy who delivers them to you from lots of places, like society in general, in the form of not respecting and valuing a stay-at-home mom's role. And this can often lead you to feel really unworthy and maybe lesser than a woman who works outside of the home. And remember that these two are the enemy's lies, trying to get you to value yourself less. Recognize that you are sacrificing a lot to stay home, a job outside of the home, and even possibly your own self-identity outside of being a wife and a mother. But know that if you're being called to be a stay-at-home mom by our Lord, and that in conversations with Him, He has identified that you should do this, regardless of the sacrifice, whether that be less money or less recognition, then follow His lead and feel good knowing that you are doing what the Lord asks of you, making sacrifices for your children, for your family, and ultimately for Him. So please take some good time alone today to pray with the Lord and work through these questions and really just reflect on what things you have placed as more valuable in your life at the current moment, and listen for His insights and the direction He is guiding you towards. Then work your way through all of the prompts and questions and look back at times in your life that the Holy Spirit is leading you to reflect on those times and really address any healing that needs to happen based on lies you may have believed in the past. Please make sure to also write down any responses or insights from the Lord that you received in your journal or in this book so that you can refer back to them in the future. So for today's Song of the Day, I've chosen a really beautiful song that really touches on what the absolute most valuable thing in our life should be and what our sacrifices should really all be about. And that is for the Lord, that our life is all for Him and that all of our choices are about Him as well. The first time I heard this song, I knew that I loved it. It's just so beautiful and it really speaks to the depths of my heart. And it is called Count Me In by Cecily. And as she sings in this song, it's something that we all want at the end of our lives. And she sings, "I long to hear you say, you knew me. Even if it cost me everything, count me in." So I'll leave a link for it down below, as I always do. This video does not have lyrics, so I encourage you to just Google that, look them up, and follow along by reading the lyrics. I think it really makes it a lot more impactful. But please at least take some time today to listen to the song, and I really hope that you enjoy it. I also hope that you enjoyed Katie's story today. Please let me know down in the comments where God is inviting you to sacrifice in order to make room for something more. Maybe it's even relating to something about the new year. And I'd love to hear all about it. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I look forward to spending time with you tomorrow. But until then, remember that whether you are decorating your home, raising your kids, or working out, that you can do it fully Catholic and all for God. Blessings to you, Catholic Mom. See you next time.